To start off with, let's go over some general points about Z39.50. Before you even start to think about using Z39.50, always check Spark first to see if a suitable mark record is already there. If so, attach your holdings to the existing mark record. I kind of feel like I'm sounding like a broken record now, but the point can't be overemphasized. Look in Spark before you look anywhere else. Choose from a list of external sources for your search. And once you've made your picks, you can save your selections. That way you won't need to choose everything the next time that you launch Z39.50. Not all of the external sources are indexed to do queries in all search fields. If your search yields no results, try looking by other search fields. We'll go into more detail about that in a bit. Just a word of warning, if you search all external services at once, your search will take longer to complete. And some of the external services may only be available if your local library has a paid subscription. If this is the case, you may need to enter a separate username and password. You can use a feature called View Mark to evaluate quality before you import a record. Basically, look before you leap. And finally, there's a function called Edit Then Import. Make sure that you utilize this to make changes as needed before importing a mark record into Spark. To get to Z39.50, go to the cataloging menu at the top of the screen, and then pick Import Record from Z39.50. When you go to Z39.50, this is the screen that you will see. A few things to point out. The column to the far right, Services and Credentials, lists the options that you have for outside record sources. You can select all of the services, but your searches will load a lot quicker if you only pick half a dozen or so favorites. To choose a service, just click the checkbox next to the relevant source. The first option under Services and Credentials is Local Catalog, and if you have that clicked, it will search within Spark's local holdings. Now, I just want to be very clear. If you use this service in Z39.50, it does not mean that you are permitted to skip the previous step of searching through Spark. Any time that you are cataloging an item, your first step must always be to search through the Spark-wide catalog using the instructions that we have already gone through. However, now that we have that very important disclaimer out on the table, if you do select this box, then Z39.50 will look through Spark's holdings, and if results are found, you can use that as a last-ditch warning to say, hey, you missed something. You need to leave Z39.50 right now, go back and look at Spark again. So in conclusion, using local catalog in Z39.50 should only be seen as an extra safety net to protect all of us against duplicate records. Some of the sources, for example OCLC, require a username and a password. And to be clear, this is not your Spark login credentials, but it's a separate username and password given by that outside source. If your local library does not have a paid subscription to that outside source, then you just won't be able to use that. And finally, once you have a list of sources that you like, click the button down at the bottom, the one that says Save as Default. This way, the next time that you come back to Z39.50, the list that you just selected will remain in play. To the left of all of that are the different fields that you may search by. You can choose to search using only one search field, or you can use multiple fields. Not all of these fields are searchable in all of the services and credentials. For example, UPC, Universal Product Code. Currently, that's only indexed for searching in Local Catalog, Library of Congress, OCLC, and GPO. Other external sources may very well have a suitable MARC record for what you are cataloging, but if you look through them by UPC, you won't get any search results. So if searching by one field or one combination of fields doesn't give you any matches, try another search method, or try searching a different selection of the services and credentials. Finally, to the far left of the screen is the Query Default column. You can only select one of these spaces, and whatever one that you have selected will determine where the cursor is the next time that you load up Z39.50. Now that we have all of that long-winded review out of the way, let's do a couple of example searches. For the first search, we will use the children's board book, Snack Time for Cow. To look for this, we will be doing a Z39.50 search using ISBN. We already have the ISBN punched into the correct area, so we click the Search button below. A progress bar will animate while the search happens. And finally, we have the search results. Now, pay close attention to the service column. Do you see there in the first row where it says Native Evergreen Catalog? That's us. That's our local SparkWine catalog. And because we see a result there, it means that we probably already have a MARC record for this book. And if we double-check the Spark catalog, we can see that the Spark catalog actually does have a MARC record for this book. We must have missed it when searching Spark before we started our example. It was an honest mistake, but because we selected Local Catalog in our Z39.50 search, it alerted us to the problem and kept us from adding a duplicate record. Let's do one more sample Z39.50 search. For this search, we will use the Annotated Gilbert and Sullivan. It's a collection of light comic operas written in Victorian England in the late 19th century. Now, we of course would start by searching Spark, and finding no matches, we would then move on to Z39.50. So we start by entering the ISBN in the relevant area, and then we click the Search button below. A progress bar appears while the search is happening, and once the search is completed, we see that there are 4 search results. Our job now is to look at each of these results and to determine A, do any of the results genuinely match the book that we are cataloging, and B, if so, which result is the best match? A result doesn't need to be 100% perfect. We can make edits before importing. We will start by clicking on the first search result, and then clicking the button that says View MARC. Looking at this MARC record, and considering all of the search match points from earlier, this does seem to be a pretty close match. The standard number matches, and the physical description also matches up. There are 2 things that do seem a little bit off. First, if we look at the 505 field, the contents listing, The book that I have only has 5 comic operas, but the field here lists a total of 10. And second, in the 264 field, the year of publication doesn't quite match up. My book was published in 1982, but this book record gives the publication date range of 1982 through 1984. Now, we could manually correct these errors before importing the record, but before doing that, let's look at the other search results. So we click the Cancel button, and move on to search result number 2. Highlight the row, and then click View Mark. And this record doesn't look like a good fit. I'm sorry, but it just doesn't. In the standard numbers section, it does give our ISBN, but it also gives an ISBN for what looks like a second volume. And looking in the 300 field, again, 2 volumes are mentioned. And on top of that, the publication date doesn't line up at all. So, yeah, I don't think this one is very good. So we click the Cancel button, and move on to result number 3. Highlight the row, and then click on View Mark. This record, it actually looks very nice. The ISBN matches up, and there aren't any non-matching ISBNs. The publication year is correct, as is the physical description, and the contents are accurate. This is the best candidate so far, but just to be safe, let's take a look at the final result. So we click Cancel, click on the last row, and once again go to the View Mark button. And I think, this looks nice. I think this one is the best record of all. As with the last one that we looked at, all of the critical match points line up. But this also has 2 key additions. First, there are 2 additional subject fields. And second, we have some 700 added entry fields, 1 for each of the operas in my book. This is a great addition. If a patron did a title search for one of these titles, it would make sure that this mark record would be pulled up. I think this is the record to use, so we click Cancel, and then making sure that line 4 is still selected, we click on the button that says Edit, then Import. If we wanted to make changes to the mark coding, this is the stage where we would do so. Once any changes are made, just click the Import button, and a pop-up window will confirm that the record was imported. And if we click the Go to Record button, we see the record in Spark's catalog. From this point, it's just a matter of clicking the Add Holdings button and going on from there.